evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the April 22nd, 2019 school board meeting. Would you please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are there any changes, amendments, or additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yeah, I wanted to pull the 9.06, just for discussion.
Okay, 9.06. Anything further? All right. Superintendent, approval of the minutes?
Oh, there are no minutes.
I'm wondering why there are no minutes listed.
Okay.
Because there are no minutes. I've
right,
never
well.
encountered that before, and I'm thinking, there is nothing next to that line.
Moved.
I have no minutes.
Just going by the agenda. All right. Representation. Tonight we have in our district spotlight. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Superintendent, would you like to pronounce it?
It's going to be highlighted in our video, so we're going to Ms. Owens is going to share our spotlight video, and we do have some of the students here tonight. We're so happy to have them, along with their teacher, Mr. Ed Anderson, their principal, Marlene Strawn, and their assistant principal, Ms. Debbie Hartog. So we'll welcome the Triangle crowd here tonight as we celebrate Triangle Elementary.
Lake County School District is a place where our students are always learning and growing into the leaders of tomorrow. Capoeira is a unique blend of martial arts and dance and music with its roots dating back to slavery. It was developed by African slaves in Brazil at the beginning of the 16th century as a form of self-defense disguised as dance. Capoeira is known for its quick, complex maneuvers, kicks and spins, and the music that accompanies it. Today, this art form is practiced all over the world, including in our own backyard at Triangle Elementary School.
Well, the thing about capoeira is that it's wonderful for to have kids to have a chance to have multiculturalism. My master and I were talking that if kids had a little bit of culture, if they're able to see the world through another eyes, to be able to experience the beauty of the differences in cultures instead of fearing them, then maybe we can make the world a little bit better place. And there's no better place to start than in the classroom.
Each time they have capoeira, they are more focused for the rest of the day. They're able to participate better in our lessons because they get that energy out. I think it helps to soothe some of their anxieties and such, and I've found it to be very beneficial in the classroom.
For some of my students that have trouble walking and have used like walkers in the past, it helped them with their motor skills. It helped them with their fine and gross motor skills, and it's something that keeps them wanting to do stuff and independently. Parents are super excited, the ones that came to the meeting and know what they're doing, and the ones that I've sent them pictures and videos of what they're doing. They are in awe because they can't believe their kids can actually do this kind of things, and they love it. So I get positive feedback back from the students and also from the parents.
You know, I hope that they're exposed to different cultures. It is a unique program, a unique opportunity that I don't know anyone else is offering. So I love the fact that they're given such an opportunity, and I love the fact that they can express themselves how they see fit, learn some dance, learn different music and about different cultures around the world. And I think it's just a great experience.
Lake County Schools is the destination district for providing students with individual opportunities to excel. Stay tuned for the next District Spotlight, where we will continue shining a light on what makes Lake great.
Hold on.
I know Mr. Anderson welcomes any of you who'd love to come and see it in action. It's quite impressive, and so I want to thank him for being here. I want to thank the students and their families for being here tonight as we celebrate you and showcase you and in your talents and what you're doing in your classroom. So thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Great job, guys and girls. Don't want to leave out the girls. But that was a great job, and continue the good work. We appreciate, as the superintendent said, we appreciate you being here this evening. I'd just like for all that participate in this that's here tonight, would you please stand over there? The dog said that it's part of it also. He's our mascot. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Excellent.
All right. Moving on to our public input. Tonight we have a few cards. And in our public input, we would ask that you keep it to 3 minutes. We have a timer up here. And that you, all your responses or your speaking as you speak is to the board and not to an individual, please. So at this time, we have Brianne I'm sorry, before we do this, the superintendent has a comment.
Yeah, before we bring public input this evening, I did just want to share some opening comments. And we know that this is the time of year when school and district leaders are making decisions about having hard conversations with employees regarding non-renewal of contracts. Sometimes these decisions are not very popular, but we trust our leaders to make the right decisions for their school or department, no matter how hard or how unpopular they may be. When considering a teacher for reappointment, leaders are asked to base their decision on whether or not the employee can be coached for improvement. In cases where the employee have not met certification requirements, failed to meet job performance requirements, adhere to the Code of Professional Ethics, failed to follow school, district, and/or state board rules, or acted in a manner inconsistent with the goals or aspirations of the district, our leaders owe it to our students and their staff to make the difficult decision to not reappoint these individuals. While Florida Statute 1012.335 does not require that we give employees a reason for their non-renewal, I am currently in conversation with school and district leaders about this topic, and we are committed to improving the non-renewal process so that teachers are more clearly aware of the infractions that may have contributed to their non-renewal before the administrator makes that final decision. And while I, along with the board, will listen to those of you who are here tonight to address any of these issues, please understand that we do not discuss personal identifiable personnel matters in a public forum. With that, we will turn it over to our first speaker.
Ms. Ashton? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
I am Brianne Ashton. My address is 40140 Bad Road, Umatilla. As I stated, I am Brianne Ashton. I have an 8th grader who was looking forward to attending Umatilla High School next year. And it is true that the kids are heartbroken. It is true that there are kids, they are kids. They shouldn't know everything. And there are things that they don't understand, but I'm an adult. I don't understand. I don't understand how we reject good educators with superior student results for the permittable excuse, quote, for any or no reason. I don't understand why the assessment procedure for instructional personnel is not based more primarily on data and indicators of improvement in student performance. The elimination of requirement for cause to dismiss does not improve education. It simply allows some administrators to shirk their responsibilities, to possibly not properly assess performance, and instead opens the door for playing favorites and retaining staff. I understand your statement in not providing any personal identifiable reasons, and I'm not asking for such, nor am I stating that there were personal favorites played, but when there are no reasons stated, when we do not allow for the teacher or anyone else to understand why they are not asked to come back, what hope do we have for our future? How can we possibly expect exceptional educators to not only continue to dedicate their time and energy to our kids, but also to draw great talent when they know they could all be dismissed for any or no reason at year's end? The dismissal of Ms. Curley at UHS has all at once and yet again shaken the foundation of the band program at UHS and crushed the sense of community shared amongst these three Umatilla band programs. I doubt I will again witness the teamwork and dedication once shared by these three band directors. We strive to teach our children of trust, loyalty, and accountability, all the while showing them what it really means to work hard and produce, and in this example, seemingly nothing. Is this the example we wish to portray, not only to our children, but to teachers alike? We cannot expect great educators to come to or stay in Lake County when we have no accountability in our expectations of them, while making their continued employment subject to a whim of any school administrator. Furthermore, I wish to be reassured by actions and not words about UHS's dedication to music education, as I have serious doubts of that importance it holds amongst administration at this time.
Thank
That is
you.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ashton. Next, we have Elizabeth Denise.
Can I just hand you this?
Yes, ma'am. If you will, hand it to Ms. Challenger. She would probably need to keep it for the record.
My name's Elizabeth Denise. I live at 121 Hillside Avenue in Umatilla. This is my fourth year involved in the Umatilla music program. I watched my son go through the UMS program with Mrs. Crouch and continue his love of music with the education with Ms. Curley. Before she even had my son as a student, she constantly was in the Umatilla band room, Umatilla concerts, Umatilla Middle, concerts, purchasing fundraising items from the students, attending band booster meetings, and so much more. She's fostering an environment that praises hard work, dedication, responsibility, and high caliber music making. Ms. Curley sets high standards for all of her students and holds them accountable, something that I think we need more of in our schools. Ms. Curley is one of a kind. Ms. Curley is setting these students up for success, instilling a love of music in them before they even get to our program. She is keeping them engaged in school, getting them excited for their future and Umatilla High School. And what other high school teachers reached out to the incoming freshmen and know them by name. In addition to having great relationships with all the students, both current and future, Ms. Curley goes out of her way to communicate with band members. I never feel out of the loop or misinformed. She uses a variety of media to communicate. This year I had the privilege of watching my son perform, in 2 music performance assessments. I have never seen my son be filled with pride after these performances. Okay, now my glasses, I'm steaming up. Not just my son, but all the UHS band members. At both MPAs, we received the highest overall rating a band could receive, a superior. I cut down my speech, but I only 3 minutes. Parents and students and directors from other schools across Lake, Marion, Sumter County would turn their heads and wonder who was on the field or on the stage. Spectators were stunned when they saw the size of our band program at these events, especially after seeing it fall apart 3 years ago. I had a parent from Tavares High School approach me and comment that their band never stays around to listen to Umatilla until now. Their program has started referring to Umatilla High School as a little band that could. Another parent, this one from Umatilla, Mount Dora High School, approached me and mentioned that they graduated from the high school and were in the band program under the direction of Mr. Locke, and that they were also stunned by how quickly the band program had turned around. And this is all the things to Miss Curley. Okay, sorry about the makeup. Never in the history of Umatilla schools has there ever been the equality in the music program between all 3 of our schools. The 3 teachers have created something extremely special and extremely rare as they have worked tirelessly to build their culture and community across the grade levels. She worked tirelessly and turned things around from day one. This program is becoming a destination and a band program in Lake County because of Miss Curley. I cannot say enough great things about Ms. Curley. She's done so much for our students and the high school band program and the Umatilla music programs as a whole. Her positive influence has helped push the students across all 3 programs to become better musicians, better students, and better people. Without her presence in Umatilla, this band program will suffer, and Umatilla music program as a whole will feel her loss. Her non-appointment is a grave loss for our students and our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Julia Dela Cruz.
Good evening. I'm Julia Dela Cruz, 724 North Kentucky Avenue in Umatilla. I'm going to be very brief. I didn't actually come planning to speak, but I felt like Ms. Curley deserved my voice as well as the other ladies who've spoken. I agree with everything that both of the ladies said this evening, and I completely understand how it works as a teacher myself. I totally get it that tomorrow we could be told, you know, thank you for your services, but we no longer need you. A couple things I just want to add. Ms. Curley is an alumni of Umatilla High School. Do we not care about the student that we produced? We produced her. Why not bring her back to produce more students to come after her? She is a community member, and she is dedicated to rebuilding and growing a program that she came from. Much like her mom, my daughter and many other fellow students in the band are anxious about lots of things, but these students shine when they get on that stage. They just, you put an instrument in their hands and they shine. And you're right, they could have another director that would lead them to shine just as much as Ms. Curley does. But like they have said, she's worked with them since they were in 7th grade. She is a community member. She's an alumni. The students like my daughter having to get used to a new director is going to throw them behind. There's many students talking about quitting band. They need band. Let me tell you, they need band. And these students that are going to quit are the ones who need it the most. But they have consistency with Ms. Curley, and they have learned to trust her, and they're just growing under her direction. We have stability. The first time in several years, we have stability with a highly effective teacher. Why would we toss that aside like it's nothing? I don't understand, just as speaker before me said, I don't understand. Why do we toss highly effective teachers to the side? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Vance Yoakum.
Good evening, Vance Yoakum. I write the blog fiscalrangers.com. I just want to talk about performance metrics, but not related to academics. I'm talking about business operation. I did send you all a memo earlier today, and I hope it wasn't filtered out by, some filter that says I'm not going to forward any emails that say cost control in it. What I wanted to just briefly talk about, and if David, you could turn on, there you go, the overhead projector, we can see here that this is one of the reports that you got from the Care Here group when they made a presentation in March to you at a workshop. And what I wanted to bring up is that it's time for the business side, the operations side of the school district to start running reports like this using dashboards that are commonly used in business and other types of agencies. There are things like the Florida Benchmark Consortium, which I mentioned and you have the link to. I've talked to their director. I've seen their report for 45 counties and cities. It's that thick. Saw it just a week ago, the new one that just came out. The city of Mount Dora and the city of Tavares have these and are participants in this program, but the other cities in the county are not. And they also have a training program for Lean Six Sigma and Yellow Belt and Green Belt and even Black Belt in Lean Six Sigma, which is a widely recognized certification in process improvement techniques in companies. Manufacturing companies and many others use those for their employees to learn how to track and manage performance. And so what I'm suggesting is that maybe now that we have a great staff on board and administration, and they've had a couple of years to figure out where all the kinks are in the systems, that you start, the board, start asking that they start developing some systems like this. Another certification is the project management certification. The reason I bring that up is we've had in the past very big blunders in contract management as well as grants. Going back quite a ways, there were some that were pretty bad. And those are the kind of skills that you would need for that. I did mention personal time management. And I really recommend that you start asking that maybe the staff start planning for developing these kind of metrics. They have it in the software system that they're using now for academics, which is great. I did create a video on that to show that. It's on YouTube. And I thought it was great. And so you're tracking the academic side, but now it's time to start developing performance metrics for the other side. And I would just like to mention a couple of things here. This report runs some performance metrics that are the type that you would see in these kind of reports. There's the cost per appointment, the cost per appointment for labs, and the cost per appointment for medications. They also have indicators that show how much the percent that it went up from the prior year. And you can see some of those went up like 9%. And so anybody that is performance oriented would start asking the question, why is it up 9%? What systems do you have in place to keep that down? And with that, I will close. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. We have Kim Cronin.
Good evening, Superintendent and school board members. I just wanted to talk to you tonight a little bit about state averages that they put on the Department of Education's website. So you know these are usually a year behind. And Mr. Mathias, I think you'll probably remember 8 years ago, you kind of ran on this, that you wanted to see this fixed. Well, we're here 8 years later, and it's still...
Just 6 years.
Oh, 6 years, okay. So I just wanted to go over some. I've got you all a copy of it, so I'm not going to go through every single thing that I've got on here. But state averages for select district level administrative staff. Above average for district level administrators in Lake County, we have the superintendent, we have school board members, we have business finance, research and evaluation, technology, staff services, food service, career tech, and exceptional ed. Average salaries for school level administration staff. So above average, school administrative staffs for Lake County are high school principals. All other principals and assistant principals just fall under the state average. Average salaries for select, support, and technical staff. Above average in Lake County, we don't have a single position that ranks above average. All of our classified non-instructional positions are below average. Over the years, we've tried to bring up custodial staff, we've tried to bring up mechanics, we've tried to bring up clerks, and we're kind of throwing pennies at these jobs. We're a destination district. We want our students to come here. We want to do the best for our students. We also need to have the best workers and better pay for those workers to come here. So I'm not going to go over a lot of this, but you'll see secretaries and clerks rank pretty low. They're 61, 62 out of 64, 67 counties. The one sad thing that I really found in this overall, our custodians right now, their average salary is just over $22,000 a year. The state average for a custodian is $25,446. The federal poverty level for a family of four is $25,750. So throughout this entire state, custodians are being paid poverty wages, and ours rank lower than most. I also would like you, I'm not sure if you've watched job openings, bless you, but we have job openings constantly for custodial and for clerks. I just met the third clerk that went to Tavares Elementary over the last month and a half, 2 months. They come and they go. We've had a mechanic's position posted for over a month. We still haven't hired one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Next up, we have Dr. Tibbetts, and he will be speaking in reference to 9.03 and 10.17.
Superintendent Cornegay, board members, just a couple little things to talk about from your consent agenda. The first one is 9.03, and whoever came up with this title had to stay awake for nights. And this challenges any government acronym that's ever been created. Positive alternative to school suspension. PASS. Oh, isn't that cute? Come on. If we're going to be cute, then I would make reference to item 1017, where you're being asked to approve a waiver of your own policy. First of all, I would ask once again, if it's a good policy, you shouldn't waive it. If it's a bad policy, get rid of it. But in looking at this, I think they missed the boat in terms of who's going to make these decisions. And it's going to be a faculty against incomplete lessons, hence fail. And they could introduce a pass-fail system with their agenda tonight. I just look at these things sometimes and say, come on, a little common sense. A positive alternative to school suspension? What does this person do? Do they speak softly and carry a big stick? Or do they yell loud and carry no stick at all? I mean, I think we don't need to be politically correct when we're coming up with job descriptions. Because I read that over and over again, and the more I read it, the more I laughed. And I guess maybe it's because I spent years as the chief judicial officer trying to teach students, but I never saw myself defined anywhere with such a bizarre job description. Finally, in just listening to some of the comments tonight, I don't know the last numbers that were just presented to you, but from what I could hear, that's terrible. And you as a board need to do something about it. In terms of evaluating teachers, I will say to you, I wonder where in the process students are asked, the receivers of the teaching. We're missing the point here. Especially high school students, they know who's good, they know who's bad, they don't need metrics, they don't need evaluation tools. They know. All you have to do is ask them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to our reports.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mathias.
Based on the comments, I'd like to pull 9.03 for comment.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Moving on then to reports. Mr. Johnson?
Just a sort of final report on the Page versus City of Claremont matter. The time for appeal has gone, so I'm assuming, I just got to check it quickly, but I'm assuming the City of Claremont is not going to take any further action regarding that denial. I guess one of the alternatives would be go back through the process and try it again, perhaps. But for now, I think we have to assume that the charter school that's impacted by that decision will be looking for a different location, different site somewhere in the county to place the school. But if I find anything, the appeal time has run.
Okay, good.
And it was up to the city to file an appeal if they wanted to. Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Moving on now to our consent agenda. Superintendent?
I recommend
Excuse me?
Can we pull 1017? I somehow missed it when I was doing my work.
This one was added later, I think.
Was it added? Yeah. Oh, okay, so I did miss it. Okay. I was like, I don't remember this.
Okay, so we have 9.03 and 10.17 and 9.06 is what I have as pulled, correct?
And just to clarify Mr. Johnson's report, so they have not filed appeal, and nor can they. The news, I think, you reported different
I
information.
thought I saw in the commercial something different.
I just
So which,
had somebody pull the docket real quickly. Now, they may have filed some, hadn't made it to the court docket yet, but the court docket that I had someone take a look at said that there had not been any appeal. There was no notice that they had filed an appeal. Did the papers say that they had appealed?
or that they were appealing? I think there was some confusion because going forward, they were confused about how to apply the rules of the.
I tell you what, I'll double check it myself with the city attorney tomorrow and let you all know by email what the status is.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, now Superintendent.
All right, I recommend approval of items 8.01 to 9.02, 9.04, and 9.05, and 10.01 to 10.16.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. All right, moving to 9.03. The new job description for PASS.
That was you, Bill.
So with Dr. Tippett's comments, I just wanted to pull this for just a minute and make a statement that at the workshop where we actually discussed this, that I reflected later that day that we actually were going to change lives, that we were going to not only get the rigor of academics, but we also were going to get counseling for these kids so that they can change their behavior. And I will never forget that night when I got home, I told my wife, tonight or today, we changed lives today. So regardless of whether PASS is considered cutesy or whatever, you want to call it, I call it, it was a day of success for this district that we are going to change lives as soon as we make this vote. That's where my head's at.
And just to add to that also, the idea is that these students will not be put into this classroom just to sit there, but they will be conducting their regular class duties and responsibilities to stay up with the program so they don't lag behind. So I think that's where this takes it and goes with it so that we don't lose the student.
Right.
So, okay. Any further discussion? Superintendent recommendation?
Well, I very proudly recommend approval of item 9.03. And I called Mr. Tippett because, he's always at our workshops. And I was worried about him. And I said, this was one I really wish you hadn't missed because it was, I said at the conclusion of that meeting, I was so proud of the work for that and our Lake Success Academy. So I'm gonna help him. has some audio difficulties, but I want him to be able to go back and watch that workshop because I know that he will absolutely support us on this. And I know he does anyways, but it truly is something that I know he would be very proud of as well. So I have made my recommendation. 9.3.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9.06, Dr.
Yes, I pulled 9.06. We discussed the PASS program, which might have a cute name but has a good purpose, and the Lake Success Academy, and those personnel allocations are in 9.06. But there's also personnel allocations for ESE, and I had to have them explained to me, and so I thought the public might enjoy that. And Ms. Weiskopf, Dr. Weiskopf, sorry, said that she or one of her staff would be happy to speak to it.
I'd be happy to. Good evening. So you'll notice on the allocation document, there were some name changes for the ESE positions. And what we are just trying to do is just to allow for students to be served based on their learning needs versus their disability or label. So if you look at that allocation document, you'll notice that we changed EBD to behavior support, meaning that a child could be in a situation where they might be labeled one thing but still need some behavior support. So we wanted to serve them in the best way possible. So that's really the name change point. The academic support is, instead of it saying ASD, which is really a label or a identification, it says that we know that students in this classroom, it could be children that have various disabilities, but what they need is strong academic support. And so it opens up access for kids in terms of how we address their learning needs versus how we just label them and put them in a classroom. Does that make some sense to you? So that's the reason for the name changes. And I'd be happy to take any other questions either.
I just thought it was really significant because it's a fundamental change in how sort of we think, as opposed to labeling kids with, you have this bubble label, this diagnosis. What do you actually need? And this, I think, could really actually affect our special needs community because you might have a kid with an ASD, which is autism diagnosis, who really needs to be in an emotional, behavioral classroom, or a kid with autism that needs to be mainstreamed. And it just opens, I think the idea is to open this up so that we can have, or can mainstreamed children be in for example, EBD? Or not, what was EBD, but now is?
A behavior support classroom?
Yeah.
So typically, those would fall in our maybe VE resource room, to where they would go out for as much opportunity as they could in the regular ed classroom, and then come back to check in. So you'll notice that number that's been renamed as well. So you have a VE resource room those children would probably more fall into place. You also have an access points classroom, which means that those children, they could have varying exceptionalities, but they need access to the access curriculum. They would be on the alternative assessment, but it just keeps us from limiting the opportunities that those kids have in terms of learning. So we're hoping to serve their needs better in terms of learning versus their disability.
Thank you.
All right, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Superintendent?
I'm going to hang out.
Thank you. I recommend approval of 9.06, the personal allocation formula revision.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. 10.17.
I'll just ask you to explain this one because I was trying to quickly look through board docs because I had missed this on my agenda when I went through it last week.
So Tavares High School, and the principal, Janice Boyd, is here, Dr. Boyd is here, and I want you to understand that I fully support this waiver, and I want you to also understand that we are under revision in terms of the Code of Student Conduct and the Student Progression Plan. So it says in the Student Progression Plan that only excused absences would allow a child to make up work. And one of the things that came up was that there are just some students that have unexcused absences but would like to make up their work. So why aren't we not allowing students who are doing the work to be able to get credit for the work? And so Dr. Boyd called me and asked me about this. She requested a change, and that change is under revision to be brought to you when we bring the student progression plan and the code of conduct to you. And I think it's worthy of considering. She's asking for it for the rest of this year in order to be able to allow students who have the work finished to be able to get credit for the work. And I think that that's on all the conversations we've had about, this isn't even redos. This is actually, I just like to do the work and be able to get credit for it, but it may be an opportunity where I don't have a note from a parent or I just have an unexcused absence. And so she's just thinking outside of the box and saying, why are we not allowing children to get credit for this? So that is why the waiver is brought to you now. And again, it's just for the rest of this year so that students can be able to get credit. I think it will allow for more kids to get to pass and continue on that idea that we want to make sure that we have that all kids are successful, especially if they're doing the work. And
So in what I did briefly read, it says that it's at the teacher's discretion. So if this kid is clearly like just skipping fifth period because he wants to skip, that teacher may choose not to allow the makeup, but the teacher, you know, if it knows that the kid's been out for several days sick or something and just doesn't have a parent note. Like,
that is correct.
so it allows for some common sense.
Currently, if teachers, they're going against the progression plan and if they, or the code of conduct, if they allow them to turn the work in. And so we would like for them to have the option to be able to allow students to turn the work in.
And I think that's what this is all about, trying to help the kids, the students, progress in their education and not hold them back and penalize them for this. So
Do we need to waive this on a school-by-school basis, or can we do a across the board if a principal makes that decision? Because this is brilliant, like legit.
Yeah, it seems like a loophole that we didn't think of.
I will tell you that it is not in the elementary or the middle school section. It only falls in the high school. And so.
And just today, I had a parent tell me that they have a child who is like she's trying to get an unexcused absence turned into an excused one because the kid was it should be excused, and it's a whole process to like get this underway for a kid who actually should have been excused. So like, you know, quirky things happen anyway.
Well, I think also because it denotes in there, you know, after the teacher's discretion that they have 5 school days once they return. So they're having to do double or even triple work to try to make this work up and still stay up with the work that they're being given after they came back to school as well. So I think this is something, as Mr. Mathias said, maybe we need to look at countywide at our 8 high schools that we allow this. If a principal brings this forth, and it's.
Well, I understood it was being reconsidered for next year, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
So, but can we go ahead at the principal and their teacher's discretion, do it now across the board? Because this is helping kids.
And I actually don't know the process for that, so I
No, that's fine.
apologize for not
Mr.
knowing the
Johnson?
process for that. So I don't actually know how to do that.
Policy to waive school board policy.
So right now we have a school requesting a waiver to allow kids to turn in their work and get credit
The last 4 weeks of
for the last 4 weeks. Can we say, instead of it being just one school, is it possible for us to offer at this meeting that waiver across the board for principals rather than having to come back? No? Okay, I look forward to 6
use
more
your
waivers.
I will tell you that this is the only call I've received so far, so I don't know if it's just a situation here, but I agree that it's we are changing the code of student conduct. You will see that change as a revision that will come to you for next year. So this waiver wouldn't be necessary, but.
The concern would be then, obviously, that our next meeting isn't for another 2 weeks. So then that would just, right. Oh, because we wouldn't.
Because this 22nd.
Other day,
29th,
right.
so it's 3 weeks away.
So there wouldn't be an opportunity if another high school was listening and wanted to offer the opportunity for this remainder of the school year. So I don't know if we could add that we would leave it into the superintendent's discretion. Is that something that we could do instead of altering this specific item?
And you have your policy.
What does the policy say about waiving school board policy? Because that's the one that there is a policy on that, though, is there not?
The policy policy because specifically it's the methodology to get to waiver of the uniforms. It was at one time. The only way to do that is through the waiver of the board policy, and I don't have it in front of me. So, do you have a workshop between now and the end of school?
We actually have one next Monday, so my recommendation would be to reach out to the schools and let them know that they have this opportunity, and if we need to re-advertise Monday as a special meeting so that they can actually vote to approve any waivers that we receive on next Monday.
So these waivers are typically done through their SAC approval, so that might be a little bit troublesome on the timeline, but I somehow I think can we bring back something that if I call them and say, would you like this?
But the SAC approval is only if they're requesting it. We can waive a school board policy without, I mean, we have other
We as the
policies
board?
currently waived. Right? Or that we had functioned for a while with certain policies waived without having to go to each individual school.
We have waived policies under Chapter 120's procedure for waiving policy, and there's certain requirements that you have to be able to show to do that. But if you can get it done on Monday, then you're only losing out on 4 days to be able, and it follows your own policies and procedures.
And to confess on this one, I think I'd be surprised if schools are actually following this policy.
Right.
I think they're probably doing the right thing to begin with. I mean, if I was the teacher in the classroom, I probably wouldn't even know that this existed, and I would just have done the right thing for kids.
Mr. Masashi, you had a comment?
I was just saying that maybe by Monday that we go ahead and make it actionable, whether we have to do it or not. And then in the meantime, Mr. Johnson, if you can let us know what we need to do, because this is good for kids, and I say we waive it on Monday.
Can we do an administrative directive or anything like that? Can you do a directive from the superintendent?
Superintendent's discretion.
Or no?
There's no superintendent directive that I know waiving policies.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
was just-
terrible.
Yeah.
That would.
I was reaching.
Defeating the whole purpose.
So I will work with Mr. Johnson. We'll have something for you on Monday.
Speaking of weird names,
I'll make some phone calls to the other principals and.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Dr. Boyd, thank you for bringing this to our attention because this is very reputable. Appreciate it. Superintendent, 10.17.
All right, I recommend approval of 10.17 waiver of school board policy 5.40.
So moved.
We got a so moved.
Second.
Second, together. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we have nothing under discussion. So moving on to the superintendent's report.
I know we all had a great evening last week at Night of Stars. It was certainly a Night of Stars, hosted by the Education Foundation. I want to congratulate our Volunteer of the Year, Carol Kozakowski. She's at Mineola Charter. Our School-Related Employee of the Year is Jerry Griswold from Federal Programs, and our Business Partner of the Year was Florida Cancer Specialist and Research Institute. We also inducted 4 individuals into our Hall of Fame. They were Leesburg Mayor John Christian, Major General David Kaufman, entrepreneur Gary Semanchik, and Lake County Sheriff Peyton Grinnell. Our teachers and administrators do an amazing job every day helping our students and reach their full potential, and they could not do it without the support of our community partners and our public champions. And so we just want to, again, say thank you to all of them and congratulations to those that we honored and celebrated last week. Also want to let the public know that we have a public hearing scheduled for May 13th on our recommended instructional materials. If anyone would like to review these materials prior to the hearing, you can do so online or in a hard copy format. Information has been posted on the front page of our website and on our social media pages if you'd like more details. And our HR department is hosting a teacher job fair on Saturday, April 27th from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at East Ridge High School. So we welcome anyone interested in joining us to participate by getting the registration information from the front page of our website. And lastly, I want to remind everyone that our Educational Choice open enrollment continues through April 30th for Lake County residents. And if you're interested in enrolling your child in a school outside your attendance boundary, April 30th is the final day for you to do so. A second enrollment period will open up in June for families inside and outside of the county. And for more information, you can visit our website. There were some letters of condolence that were sent. First of all, to Savannah Register, she's a teacher at Spring Creek Charter. She lost her mother, Connie Collins. Melinda Smith, who's a teacher at Grassy Lake, lost her father, William Smith. And Frank Scott lost his father-in-law. They're teachers. There's Frank Scott is a teacher at Mount Dora High, and Tiffany Scott is also an employee with the district. They lost their father and father-in-law, Frank Scott. Diane Dwyer, the principal at Umatilla Elementary, and Lisa Hannah Walt, secretary at Tavares High School. They lost their father, Stephen Rigdon, this past week, and so our condolences to them.
All right. Board member comments, Mr. Mathias?
First, I want to thank the parents that came out to support the band director at Umatilla and that spoke, and I really appreciate y'all coming out and supporting. As a former drummer, I know how important that band director is, and I can assure you that in this case, that that I think the district is in the right, supporting the right position. I also want to address, Mr. Yoakum, your comments and at your presentation, and I'm wondering, because Mr. Mock is here, that if it wouldn't make some sense for the two of y'all to spend some time and see what that model would look like that you're expecting, where y'all could have some private time, and then come back to us. You're looking perplexed, Mr. Mock. So, but I just want you and Vance to spend some quality time together is what I'm really looking for. No, because I think within the parameters of what you're looking for, you're trying to pass it off to Mr. Ward. Yeah. No, I genuinely believe that in your wheelhouse, from your private sector experience, that the two of y'all, and then you could present something maybe at a workshop that would look like a model that would work for the school district, because there's merits in it, legitimately. What do you think? You can say no if you want to. Yeah. Okay, so right after this meeting, y'all two bond, and then come back Monday. Oh, okay, so he's got something for you, already a handout. Okay. And that's all I have.
Luke?
Thank you. I also wanted to just say thank you to the parents that came out to support. I know we spoke about the personnel issues that we have, but we hear you, and we know that you took your time out of your evening this evening to come and support her and the work that she's done, so we appreciate that. I also wanted to let everybody know that on Friday night, Umatilla Elementary School is doing their production of Annie Jr. There might be a really cute redheaded freckle-faced kid playing Daddy Warbucks that you want to see. And I'm sorry, she's going to be adorable in a bald cap and all. I also wanted to congratulate, we had several students that showed animals at the fair last week, the Lake County Fair. Was that last week already, 2 weeks ago? Seems like yesterday. Anyway, we had lots of students that did very well, and that just lots of successes all around. I love seeing all the pictures, and the Umatilla Outpost does a great job covering that too. So it's a really big deal. And I wanted to share the opportunity I had last week with you guys. One of my colleagues at UCF does the abroad program with our interns, where they can go overseas for 3 or 4 weeks of their internship. And when she was in Ireland last semester, she met up with a fellow who was from a university in Ireland who wanted to come here and was on a sabbatical, a leave from his college, and he got a grant to come and study some schools here. So she reached out to me and just said, can you get me in any creative math classrooms? He's studying math creativity. And so I reached out to Mrs. Christides at Treadway, because she's got the STEM lab that they've raised $160,000 for. And then I also reached out to Mr. Straight at the STEAM program at Umatilla Elementary School. And I'm going to tell you guys that I enjoyed Thursday just as much as he did, but he was like in heaven. So Dr. Urkel, myself, and Rory from Ireland participated in a good morning's work of STEAM and creativity and math, and I was super, super proud of what I saw in Lake County schools. And so a big, big thank you to Umatilla Elementary School. Mrs. Dwyer was out, but Mrs. Myers spent some time with him, and then we got to see Mr. Straight launching rockets and talking about trajectory angles and how distance would impact their build of their rocket, and then they actually went outside and tested those little straw rockets. And then Mrs. Christides and Mrs. Roman in the STEM lab, everybody was very welcoming, and I think that Rory is going to go back to Ireland and think that he wants to come back here and teach. So I appreciate the work that you've done as well. I know that we've had lots of conversations this week, and anyway, that's all.
All right. Well, I've got a few points here. First, I'll just throw a quick reminder for the Coffee and Conversations that Commissioner Sean Parks and I are hosting on Friday down at the Angler in Claremont. That's 8 to 10 a.m. It's been advertised in a few different places, so you can you've probably already seen the details if you're interested in going, but we'd love to see you. Echoing your remarks about Night of Stars, I tell you, it's truly remarkable to stand in the presence of all of these people from the wide gambit of, you've got these employees who are just shining at their school and at the district, and then the volunteers. And when volunteers are announced that have spent more hours volunteering than the employees have worked, that's just an incredible testament of the dedication that we have in our community for people to step up and be part of our school system without receiving the paycheck. So hats off to those people. That being said, I guess it all kind of ties to money. District has really been on a roll lately with some brilliant initiatives. When we talk about this positive alternative to school suspension, we talk about the Lake Success Academy, we talk about now providing opportunities for students to not be penalized in their academics for their attendance. Absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to see how we continue to roll with that. Now, some of those initiatives were only possible because of the voters' dedication and through the property tax millage, which all goes back to show you the value of money to a school district, right? That we would not be able to support these students, and instead we would just continue to have them serve out of school suspensions where they fall further and further behind in their academics. We would not be able to have the opportunity with the Lake Success Academy next year of being able to provide both the behavioral support and the academic support for kids. It's the whole picture. So that being said, it goes back to money. And Ms. Cronin, I think you presented some information tonight which it's been a focus for this district for many, many years. And I know that there's very little information that I could share based on the context of what needs to go through collective bargaining, but I'll highlight a couple of points, though, just so the public has accurate information. You know, when you're looking at the salary of some of these positions, superintendent, for example, one thing that's worth doing is sorting elected superintendents versus appointed superintendents, because you'll see a different salary range, and there's an advantage. And I think anybody who's been in this district long enough knows the advantage that we have of having an appointed superintendent. There's a greater level of accountability there, and I think you all would probably agree that we hired pretty well in doing that. So, you know, when you consider that salary, it's not the top of the spectrum for appointed superintendents. It's middle of the road. School board members, that's a salary that we don't set ourselves, and I think I got a couple of emails about that a couple of years ago when we did see a small increase in our salaries. Everybody was angry that we voted increases for ourselves. We don't set that salary. That's largely determined based on the population of our county, which goes back to the inequity imbalance. You see, our county is so populous, but yet we're funded, what, 60th? Is that our current rank? 58th. We are just climbing up the rungs there. 58th. When we are populated at ranking 19th and funded at 58th, you see why these salaries are so out of balance from the rest of the state. Which I think goes back to this meme I've seen all over Facebook, which is a very valid point. If the state is not ready to fund public education, why is it so eager to go fund the private education? I don't know, but I would love to see the state answer that question with adequate funding for public education. Thanks.
Yeah, I certainly agree that it's very difficult to adequately fund two completely separate public education systems, and now we're going to be funding private education. I had the pleasure of attending Night of the Stars. I wanted to thank all of our school-related employees. You guys make our schools function. I mean, we couldn't do it without you. The Hall of Fame inductees were very impressive, and it was humbling to listen to their careers. And our volunteers are amazing. I mean, we have incredible volunteers in this county that put so much time and are such great helps to our teachers that I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who was part of that night and everyone who wasn't part of that night, because there's so many volunteers and so many school-related employees that aren't that person this year, but are shining stars. So I also attended our audit committee meeting, and we should, I believe, have maybe a workshop on the printer. Oh, excellent. On the printer audit. And there was some other, like the CAFR was covered and et cetera. But that will be some interesting results. And I also wanted to thank Triangle Elementary for their awesome capoeira presentation. Like, that was really fun to see. I love seeing kids moving and doing music, and I've taken capoeira, and it's very creative and fun, and it wasn't actually my preferred martial arts form because it's a little not prescribed enough for me. So it actually is very creative, and there's a lot of fluidity, but it is fun, and I can see kids just excelling at it. And those teachers that said that they focused better and they did better at their studies afterwards, like, I get it, because there's a lot of different thinking that's going on when you're trying to figure out a move against your partner, and it's just really cool. So I was really excited to see that, and I just think the principal at Tiberius Triangle has just been an absolute wonderful force for Triangle Elementary School. So I'm so grateful to her as well. That's all I have.
But just to add real quick to that, that's a lot of comments that I've heard throughout the public over in the Mount Dora area is how Triangle and the principal, how she's bought in, and that she's not so much an office principal. She's out there with the kids. They know who she is. They come up and hug her or whatever and things of that nature. She's very personal with them. So that stands out. And that goes back to the previous principal that passed away April 1st, Robert Crawford. He was that way, as passionate with the kids as well. So that stands out to kids, especially later in years. They remember those. I was sharing with one of the teachers that was here with her daughter when I was at Tiberias Elementary that I said, "You don't remember me?" She goes, "Yeah, Tiberias Elementary, you was the custodian there." I said, "Yeah, I was." And but that's, kids, they see you out in the public and they remember those things, even though that may be 30 years ago. But and you're like, "Okay, help me out. Who are you?" Kind of thing. I just wanted to point out something that we approved tonight in 10.05 was Astatula on an out-of-state field trip to Louisville, Kentucky for the VEX Robotics World Championship. And that's, they also will be accompanied by Tiberias Middle School as well that will be going there. And I think this is great. Windy Hill? I didn't see them. They're not my district.
If only you should be so lucky.
I know. But this is great to me that they won their state championship in representation for Lake County, and that they're going forward with that. Also, with the Night of the Stars, it was nice to be able to attend that and see all of our volunteers. But as I've said before, with our support staff, our teachers are at the top as far as a lot of people are concerned. But a lot of teachers will tell you when they go to a campus, the first thing they look for is a custodian, the head custodian, or the cafeteria manager and the cafeteria people, because they want to know who they are, because they want to make sure they do right by them, because they will do right back to them. So it's a game plan that it starts at the lowest person on the campus to the highest person, that they all work together to make this happen for the education of our students in Lake County. And thank you very much tonight for being here. We're adjourned.